Hey, beautiful people. Rev Derek here on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at Rev Derek Terry. But of course, I'm here representing the Open and Affirming Coalition, where I serve as the program director. And I'm super excited about today's episode. Welcome to the Intersection ONA, an Open and Affirming podcast. Super excited today because we're doing something a little different. Up until now, our guests have been clergy. Our guests have been UCC, and I'm super excited today that I have two awesome guests, neither of which are clergy, neither of which are UCC, but they are here to offer perspective. That's the whole point of the intersection, to introduce our listeners and our community to voices that they may not ordinarily hear. And yeah, a little bit more about that. But first I got to do the church announcements. We have a lot going on. So if you are listening to this podcast before September 5th, 2023 at 7 p.m., we are excited about a webinar that we're offering, how churches can support LGBTQ plus college students. And it's with a close personal friend of mine, Mr. Brian Buford, who has decades of experience in college administration. He was also the founding director of the University of Louisville LGBT Center, the premier LGBT center in the South. He's won lots of awards. He is the first person that I personally came out to and has been doing a lot of work supporting college students over the years. And so we have a lot of good information for you. So please, 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 this is a free webinar. So register for that September 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On September 14th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it is the ONA Book Club. This month, a little different. First two books were YA banned books. This time we're reading a classic, Howard Thurman's Jesus and the Disinherited. But we're going to read it and discuss it through a queer lens to look at how this classic text speaks to us in 2023 and how it can inform and ignite our ministry and advocacy. So please, again, it's free. Donations are appreciated. September 14th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 hour. September 21st, 2023, we have an amazing webinar planned for you called How to Use Social Media for Ministry. And we have Reverend Timoth. If you're on TikTok, Facebook, he's a moderator for the New England Conference of the United Church of Christ, Northern New England Conference of the United Church of Christ. He's an awesome individual, big beard, big personality, does amazing work on social media, has hundreds of thousands of followers, people who listen and connect, and he's really helping them to heal church hurt. And so he's going to be with us again for a free webinar. But of course, donations are welcome on the 21st of September, 2023, 7 o'clock p.m. Lastly, September 28th, 2023, 7 o'clock p.m., we got to talk about bullying. So we're having a webinar where we're getting some information that can help churches and clergy and ministers, but also parents and families for some resources of related to bullying. We know the school has just started back. We know that the current social political climate of our country, there's lots and lots and lots of things being said about the LGBTQ plus community. And so we got to protect our kids. So please come out. We're going to be joined by Mitch Leet, who is basically my counterpart in the program as the program manager for Room for All, which is the nonprofit that works directly with the Reformed Church in America. And so he is an amazing person. He's been doing some really good work and has some good information to share for us. And that is on the 28th. Whew, we got a lot going on. So all of those are free, but of course, in order for us to do this type of programming, there is a cost. There is a cost for ministry. So please feel free to invest in that, to donate. You can go to openandaffirming.com openandaffirming.org/donate. to do that. And of course, when you register, you can donate as well. Something that I'm really excited about today, like I told you earlier, we have two conversations that we're going to have as it relates to what happened with Sibley O'Shea. So something that I said earlier, it's the first time having two non-UCC, two non-clergy on, because we have to talk about what happened to Sibley O'Shea. July 29th, 2023, a young Black man celebrating his birthday was in a New York gas station dancing with his friends to music and was killed. Homophobic incident, a hate crime. And we have to talk about what that means to Black people, to people of color in this summer of Renaissance. You say, what is summer of Renaissance? And that Beyonce is on tour right now. And that may mean very little to some people, but to this community, to a certain community, it means an awful lot. And so I want to present something to you that I think can be helpful and beneficial in your ministry. And also as you think about advocacy and the type of churches and programs and ministries that we create. So I have two friends, Nekia Zulu, who's going to be on, and my friend Kanuby, to talk about the ballroom community, to talk about what it means to be Black and find community and find opportunities to let your light shine and to be yourself. What it means when that is threatened and attacked, and how we can create those spaces in our churches for people who feel doubly or triply marginalized, oppressed, ostracized, attacked. I'd love to hear from you after this. My email address is ONA@openandaffirming.org. Of course, you can find me on all the socials at REVDEREKTERRY. There are lots of photographs and images that I use during this particular podcast. So if you're listening to it, feel free to check us out on YouTube so you can see some of those. So you can see my amazing guests. Yeah, let's get started and take care. God bless. If you didn't catch all those dates that I gave you, follow us on Facebook, Open and Affirming Coalition, and you can see all that good stuff. And of course, our website, openandaffirming.org. All right, let's go. Welcome to the Intersection Podcast. Your host, Rev Derek Terry here, he, him, pronouns, and I'm here with my friend. It's Nekia, right?
Yes, Nekia Zulu.
Nekia Zulu. Whoop, whoop. I am so super excited to have you on the pod. We've been connected on the socials for a while, and you are a model. You sing, you play the piano, you do all types of stuff. So could you just tell us a little bit about who you are and your awesomeness for the people?
My name's Nekia Zulu. I guess you could say I'm an all-around entertainer. I get in where I fit in. I do. Dang, you took it back. Wow, you actually know. I wouldn't put singing out there, but dang.
My bad. I'm sorry.
She do sing. She do play the piano. She play the drums. She dances. She models. She acts. She does a lot of things. I do a lot of things. So yeah, that, and I just try to support life in to whatever I'm doing, you know?
Awesome. So I wanted to have you on to talk about, we've been introducing people to individuals who they may not, ordinarily meet. And so we wanted to talk about the ballroom community. And that's something that like I said, I've been following you for a while, and I love seeing your performances. And she was just international, honey. She was in the London. She was in the UK. And so just tell us about what the ballroom community is, what drew you to it, what it represents, what it means. Yeah.
The ballroom community is I like to say it's a practice field for you honing tools that you'll use into the real world. Some people describe it as an underground, like an underground society, but for me, it's a playing field for you to practice what you'll be using and things that you'll need in real life. Um, the the basis of it, what is pushed out, the more marketable version of what's pushed out, I could say, and like the meat and potatoes of it. It's an event that goes on that has categories. These categories span from things like performance or runway categories, which I walk, or fashion categories like best dress, labels, bazaar, um, and going down to things such as like body, sex siren, realness, which is like how well you can blend in regular everyday society. Has a lot of it's pretty much a competition, but also outside of that, it's a networking community of many different people who span all over the world now globally. When it first started, of course, it was just in one area, but now it's global with people, coming from all different walks of life. You might meet somebody in London who works for fashion designers and things like that, or you might meet somebody out in California who is like working on a movie set. You never know what people are doing or where people are working, but it's an easy way for us to all get connected and know each other. It's also a place for you not just to learn about networking, but learn about who you are as a person. Um, whether that be exploring your femininity or expressing yourself artistically. It's a place for you to find out a lot of different things about your real life and yourself.
So would you say, is it, and for people who this is all completely and totally new to, would you
Mm-hmm.
say it's performance? Is it competition? Is it
Oh, it
like,
is definitely competition. It is full 100% competition. It's love and competition. It's love and competition, but it's definitely a lot of competition, a lot of shade, and a lot of competition.
love that. So how did the ball scene form? Like, or what, because now it's, there are parts of it. I love that you said that marketable piece. Like there are parts of it
Mhm.
that have permeated mainstream society. But what was it before it was on TV? Before it was on HBO? Like,
Um, wow, that's a crazy question. For the most part, it's somewhat, it still is.
good.
Ballroom still is that, which is why I say, like, you have places now like OTA or Open to All, um, which happens in New York every Monday, where you'll, like, they've had Lil Nas X there, Madonna was there one night, all those kind of
Mm.
things. This is a place where spectators actually get to see a real ball, but for the most part, it still is you getting a flyer, you seeing a flyer, seeing what categories call it for, your house parent telling you it's a ball going on here, it's a ball going on there, this is what you need to wear, da 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 da, and you pulling up to whatever event space they have, and these be some event spaces. They be anything from a hole in the wall to a gutted out church. Like, it be some venues, but you go there and it's a big competition space. It's a really big competition space. And because you have bigger ones and smaller events, a smaller event might be more local, where you'll see like the people that you know in your hometown or in the area that you're living in or a resident of. But then you'll have a bigger one, um, where, like, for example, in New York we have latex. Latex is annual as well, but people come from all over the world to walk latex. It's also usually, they have a blurb about it or some kind of like, something about it in the New York Times, because
Mm.
it's been going on that long. It also raises money for the community and things like that. Um, so yeah,
How did,
it's pretty much still what it was. It's
love
just
that.
that now, because it's becoming more, I'm not even going to say becoming more, because now there's another spotlight on us again. People are wanting to learn more about it.
Do you think that's a good thing for the community, for the scene?
Um, I'm impartial. I'm impartial on it. I'm very still neutral in the middle on how I feel about it, because I see the benefits of it, and I see also like the negative things that come from it. So, you know, it's good for the people, it's good for the individuals involved who are whose talent is being spotlighted, but also there's power in gatekeeping culture.
Yes, and
There's
that's why,
power.
yeah,
It kind of keeps things sacred. It kind of keeps things like, you know, it protects the I don't even know the word for it, but it does protect it.
and that's why I asked, because you know, anytime something is brought mainstream, there's, like you said, there's benefits, but then there's also a commodification of talent, and this, it's kind of like, it's kind of like Black Panther. It's like, what happens when people know the jewel that is here, and does that change? And that's why I love to hear you say it still is what it is. like like there's still that true realness, but there are also these other people, and
It
uh
changes it. It definitely,
yeah,
you know, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't just us like
yeah,
ballroom becoming mainstream that changed it, but that is something that changes it.
mhm,
When Madonna did Vogue, you
right,
know, there was a shift that happened.
right.
Pose couldn't depict it, you know, as well as it actually happened real life, real time, but there was a shift that happened. So now with Renaissance and Legendary and all these things, there definitely is a shift that happened, but also social media caused shifts in ballroom and all these other like things, such as a O'Shea Sibley or a post nightclub shooting and trans women who are a part of this community getting killed. You know, these kind of things cause shifts within the community. So um I can't necessarily blame it all on mainstream, like things becoming mainstream, but it definitely does affect things. It definitely does affect things.
How did you find yourself in the ballroom community? How did you find your voice within the community, your place within the community?
I was always somewhat connected to I was always connected to people in ballroom. Let me put it like that. So, like, from the time I was like in high school, 16, 17, I knew people who were in ballroom. But because I grew up in a country town, I wasn't going to be able to speak out my grandmama's house, go 5 hours to Miami to walk a ball, and then cut. Like, she wasn't going for
Right.
that. So, I wasn't able to be a part. And then growing up and stuff like that, going to college and everything like that, I just wasn't focused on ballroom. But because the ballroom community is so large, you can't be queer and not know somebody who's in ballroom. You can actually be queer and not know that somebody is in ballroom because there's so many of them. And I always speak to like, once I joined ballroom, going to the club is different because the same club that I would go to, and these would just be people who were out, who I thought looked good, or who I didn't know who they were, but they just had a personality or whatever. And I would go to that same club, and now I realized, like, oh, girl, half of this club is in ballroom. So,
Mhm.
you know, I was. It wasn't until after I turned 21, I think it was like 22, and I had moved to Dallas. I had moved from Atlanta back to Dallas. I had already started practicing voguing. And of course, since I was 16, people who wanted me to come to ballroom, and I would always say no, it was for runway. Um, I joined a house in Dallas. I'm trying to remember how I ended up. I think I questioned one person about like a ball or something like that, and they connected me to another person, and the person who they connected me to, his name is Hannibal. Hannibal ended up becoming my house brother. I ended up joining the
Mm.
house of Mizrahi. Um, and the rest is history from there. Like everywhere that I moved, pretty much already knew people in ballroom, but then like being in ballroom, everything just became bigger. You just accumulate more over time. Then I transitioned in ballroom. Ballroom pretty much saw me go from being like $1,000 runway walker to now $1,000 performance femme queen. So, and I've received support throughout all of it. You know.
When I heard you say, a house, can you describe to us in the ball community what ballroom community, what a house is, what that means?
Um, Dorian Corey in Paris's Burning once described our house as a gay street gang. And I feel like at this point, it's somewhat like it's like a queer fraternity or sorority,
Oh, I love
because at that time it did give street gang because it was more local, but now it's global. So the same way you can have AKAs and deltas and all these other like fraternities and sorority alphas cross the land and they cross this day on this time. Ballroom is like the same thing. You have, I'm in the house of Saint Laurent. We have Saint Laurent's in New York, Atlanta, the West Coast over in LA running amok. And then we also have a strong chapter in Europe. But you have
it.
other houses like Garcon or West or Mugler or these other houses who literally have members in every state, almost in every country, and who are also actively walking and making splashes in their own areas. So it's definitely like a fraternity or sorority because these are your brothers and sisters. This is your family. And if you network within your house, it does help you along in life.
I love that. So I hear family, camaraderie, but then also team. If you're competing together
Yes.
and you're traveling together and all these type of things. So how important was or how helpful was that community, that family, in you dealing with your queerness or you dealing with discovering who you are, or how was that helpful?
It was very helpful. It exposed me one to more queer people who I was in a sense struggling. I was struggling to like meet queer people or connect with other queer people or find queer people who understood me or whatever. And of course, like once you join Ballroom, you're starting, you're kind of like, you're kind of understood because they understand you through your art. They see you through your art and you all help each other get better. But also for someone like me who, like me moving from Dallas back home to Florida, me moving from Florida up here to New York. When I moved from Dallas back to Florida, people who were involved in ballroom in Florida who had wanted me to walk and join that I never did, I started to get connected to them more because now I'm going to balls and seeing you all. So now I'm able to network a little bit more within the state of Florida. By the time I moved to New York, though, because of ballroom and things I were doing outside of ballroom, now I'm known more so over. So moving from state to state and like, for example, I just went to London, like you said. No, you okay. I just I just went to London, like you said, and I was able I had friends already in London who I never met, who were able to like, girl, go here to get your nails done. Go, you should get food from here. You should, those kind of things. And had a Vogue session. Like there were already connections and networking opportunities and people who helped me move around all the way in another country I had never been in before. But also it moved down to like when it came to the support with me walking balls out there, I felt an overwhelming immense of support because y'all have watched me from across the season. Y'all actually really, really, really enjoy my craft and love what I do. You know?
I love that. I asked one of my friends, I was like, what did ballroom give you? And she said, I had no self-confidence
None.
until I'm thinking, I've seen you on that stage. I've seen you perform on social media or on a ball, and I'm like, I would have never guessed. But she talked about it. She said, when we say you gave me life, like it literally gave me life.
And I think what's beautiful about mine, I was blessed to like come up, of course, in the age of social media, to blessing and a curse. But the blessing is respectfully, if you dig, you could watch my whole journey. At the beginning, when I came to ballroom, like I said, I was a butch queen. I was a boy, and I wasn't really comfortable, or I wasn't sure and confident in my femininity at that time, right? So I went from that to now thinking about transitioning, now getting in drags for the first time and realizing I don't like drags. I actually just want to transition. I don't want to like play up and getting in and out. I don't want to do that. I want to transition to now transitioning. And I've consistently walked balls. I've consistently did everything that I was already doing, and it just amplified more because within discovering who you were or whatever, coming to a ball and now competing as who you are, and especially something like performance, which is it's voguing, but it is performance. You have to like put on a persona, you have to become something, you have to control a crowd, you have to entertain, and you still have to get judges' votes. Becoming that kind of person and discovering who you are, it's like it transfers automatically into society. You walk with your head held higher.
So we've been social media friends since before you transitioned.
Yeah.
I have watched, and we've never met in person, but I got chills. I got chills right now because there's something so powerful about watching someone become who they've always were supposed to be, and to see that confidence. And again, you've always been gorgeous. You've always had this like magnetism and this presence. But it is so like when I saw you in London, I was like, this is so dope. Because for so many of us, I'm talking about myself, like we have those struggles. You know, the church that I grew up in, it didn't affirm my queerness, and I didn't know I was queer until I was older. And while I appreciate the AME Church for the social justice piece and like certain things that I got in my youth group, like some of my friends I still to this day have when we're so close, but it didn't speak to that part of me. And so it wasn't until I started to like, love, value who I was that I started to, like you said, hold that head up, pull my shoulders back, find communities where I didn't have to feel weird, just find my weird people that I could be my weird self with. So watching you through that journey to go, and then you're international and performing literally hundreds of people, and it's like that's just so beautiful. And to hear you say, talk about how these connections did that.
One thing that I've always said, I feel like I heard somebody say it once, but I always tell people it. Your tribe finds you, and you find your tribe. You're always on a journey to like finding, like, it's never you just walking down a path looking for your tribe. Your tribe is also walking down the path the opposite direction looking for you. So eventually you're going to find your tribe. You just got to hold out until you find it, until you find like what your niche is, find out those weird, like you said, you're not weird. You just got to find other weird people. Like, when you find those people, I knew New York, it's a funny story. I knew New York was for me. I have a sister from Florida. She was the one who was telling me to come to New York. Cool. So what made me realize New York was for me, everybody who I met was tall. Everybody who like I met and we started getting connected with each other, and like they're really like
tall. Is what you're saying? You're telling us you're tall?
Yes, I'm telling you. I know. I be lying. I'm tall on this interview. But everybody was tall. I always felt like I did not fit in the South or whatever. I always felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb. I'm taller than everybody. I'm skinny. Blah, 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 blah. And then I come up here and like it had hit me one day. I was looking like, oh y'all tall, and like some of y'all taller than me, and we all kind of like slim. Okay, cool. Like this is my people, and of course, like in other aspects, they lift me up, and they've really supported me like throughout everything, literally throughout everything. So you're always like, for anybody watching and feeling like you're looking for your tribe is also looking for you.
I love that. So a lot of churches, pastors, people are listening to this, and I definitely don't want churches who are not part of the community to think, oh, we're going to have a ball. But I do want your ideas or your advice for what do we create? How do we create systems or structures where people can feel seen, and feel valued and feel that they can be themselves. And again, not when I say create that, I don't mean like in church Sunday morning. Just how do we create community for people who are looking for that?
I think it starts with it's so funny. You have to do outreach. So you really absolutely have to start with outreach, and it has to be outreach because as someone who was a part of the church or what the church, I feel like the church has shunned queer people so much that now queer people are kind of afraid to step to the church, so the church has to step to the people, and it really does start with outreach. This is a community of people who are suffering in poverty. You do have like some of us who are like, you know, doing okay financially, but these are a lot of people who are like struggling, living on the streets. We might be homeless, some of us, like, and we're also very young. So the ones that you'll be outreaching to, these are youth people. So it really does have to start with outreach, you know, and from there, I don't know. I feel like those are the conversations you got to talk behind a closed door with some meetings. But it does start with outreach. It does start with letting your queer community in your respective areas know that, yes, you are a church, but also you are here for them, you know.
I love that. And getting out, I tell people all the time, because people are always like, how do we get our audience? How do we find the people that we want to serve, that we want to build community with? You know, the queer people, how do we affirm them? They don't come to church. And I'm like, go to them. Go to them. Like, of course they don't come to church. I don't want to go. It's petrifying, even as a queer person, as a queer pastor, trained. Before I go to a church for the first time, I'm trying to figure out who are they, what are they, am I going to be affirmed, not just accepted, not just welcomed? Are they going to look at me crazy if I come in with another dude? Can we sit next to each other in church? Can we get married at the church? Can we have our baby baptized? Like, there are all these things that have to, and that's what we do. Open and Affirming Coalition is 1,800 churches that have done the work of saying, regardless of your gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, you are here and you are a part of our community. But just saying that doesn't mean anything to people who've been hurt, criticized, ostracized from churches their whole lives. So you show up where they are, build relationships, build community, and don't talk to people because you're trying to get them to come to church. Talk to people because you're trying to show them who God is and that God loves them and that God affirms them as they are.
I have a really good friend, Isaac. So shout out to Isaac if he's watching. He actually is in the community. We have husbands. He's my ex-husband, but he's also like my brother. But he goes to a church up in Harlem, and you know, it started with meeting him. Then I met his mom, and then like we were walking down the street in Harlem one day, and I had met one of the pastors of the church, who's also his godfather. So you know, we talked or whatever. But then what started to happen was whatever conversation me and his godfather had, I don't remember the conversation. It was honestly like a small meeting. But something must have touched him to where he constantly asked about me. He constantly asked about me. How was Nekia doing? How was Nekia doing? How was Nekia doing? And I was the only one of his friends who he actually remembered by name. So it started there where I felt like this overwhelming, like, dang, I should probably go to church. But, you know, it's the same feelings you felt, I felt, and now I'm trans, so now I feel them even more where I'm like, well, girl, I done seen videos of people throwing trans women out of churches. So I don't necessarily want to go to a church and have to do, you know. And then I met his godmother, and I met more of his family and his friends who actually go to the church. So by Easter, he started to lay down the law of like, no, you're coming to Easter service. And I was like, I don't want to go. And I was really going to check it out, but I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't. But it really does start with the fact that we met walking through Harlem. The next thing I know, and now we're at this event, at another event a month and a half later in Harlem. Now I met people who are part of the dance team at church. We're just here at a ball. Actually, it was like a little mini function, and I met them outside at Harlem. The next time I met them, it was just some park cookout, and we're running into each other now. They invited me over for Thanksgiving and stuff like that. It starts with outreach. It starts with meeting us where we are to make us feel like we're not just walking into a lion's den. Because honestly, especially for me as a trans woman who grew up in the church, I did not just grow up in the church. I was fully active in the church. She played drums for the church. She did play the piano for the church. She sung in the choir. My grandmother was church clerk. Like, we were active in the church. I should not have to feel like I can't go back to something that I grew up in, you know?
It's home.
It's home.
Thank you for doing this.
No problem.
Like, your light and your energy, and like I said, just following you, and I was watching a video of you earlier, and I was like, my God, it's just such a blessing. There's such an anointing. I'm sorry, church word. There's just such a energy. There's just such a light that shines from you. And that's why I was like, please, 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 will you do me a favor and do the pod? And I'm so glad that you did this. How can people find you on socials if they want to see you on the social? If you're interested in that, let us know. If not,
no, I am. All of my social medias is this. Where is it? This name right here, NEKIAZULU on Instagram. Linktree.com or Linktree/Nekia Zulu. My Facebook is Nekia Zulu. Yeah, everything's Nekia Zulu.
Awesome. Thank you so much, friend. You are beautiful. It's awesome. Love her. Now we're going to switch things up just a little bit and have a conversation with social media influencer and thought leader, my friend Kanuby. Let's go. Hey, beautiful people. Rev Derek here, and welcome to the Intersection ONA podcast. I am so excited to be here with a friend, Kanuby. Woo! So I have been following this awesome thought leader on social media. We've been friends for, I can't even tell you how long.
Oh, wow.
I felt like it was before Iyanla. I feel like it was, or maybe it was around Iyanla. So that's
it was around Iyanla, because I remember I added you. So it was around that time. So I want to say, was it 2016?
Yes, yeah, so 2015, 2016. Yeah. And yeah, and I rarely added people around Iyanla. So that's even more dope. But yeah, I've been following Kanuby for forever. So welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
So, like I told you before we started recording, you're the first non-clergy, non-UCC person that we have had on the pod. And so that is exciting for me because we get to share your views and your energy and all those things that I have loved following since 2015, 2016 with
it's crazy energy
with all these people. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do, anything you want us to know.
All right. So first of all, thank you for having me on the show. Hi, everybody. My name is Kanuby. I am born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. The accent will come. It will come. And the more passion I get, it's going to get even more intense. I'm going to let you know right now. I live in Atlanta. I moved to Atlanta in 2016. I've been here about to be 7 years on September the 4th. I'm a flight attendant for an undisclosed airline, but I've been working for them. I've been a flight attendant 7 years. I've been working for this company for about 3 years now. As Derek mentioned, I am very much of a bright personality. I like to consider myself as a 100-watt light bulb that walks into every room and just creates the shine that everybody needs. I'm very opinionated. I like to be very real. If we're going to talk about something, I like to get to it. I like to state facts. You know, sometimes emotions comes up, but I like to be factual so we can get to get to the point. We can get to an agreement. We can get to a disagreement. But if we're doing this, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go hard, but let's have fun. But most importantly, let's be factual.
Love that. And so I love your voice as it relates to queer community and queer issues, because there are times where you just go live, or there are times where you just like post story time on Instagram or Facebook.
Oh boy.
And
that's story time.
So I've loved your commentary. And I also, you're a huge supporter of the trans community. Absolutely. And the ballroom community. And so I felt like after the murder of O'Shea Sibley, we had to talk about it. Like, there was just so many things that, this summer of Renaissance, and I keep saying that because you cannot open social media right now without seeing that colored screen of the Beyonce stage.
Yep.
And everyone
silver, metallic.
Exactly. Have you got to see the concert?
I've saw 1 out of 3. So I went once. I got to go 2 more times.
Oh my God! So I've went twice. And
yeah, I don't feel bad anymore. Everybody's gonna give me feel bad about going to see it 3 times. I don't feel bad anymore because you're going to see it twice. See, but it's an experience that when you see it, even when you leave, you're not over it. You're not over. You're like, you know what? Mentally, I'm still here, so I need to physically go back.
I know there are bootleg copies on YouTube, and I've been fighting the urge to just not put it on my TV. And I've seen it.
I haven't.
Where did you see it, and where are you going to see it? If you don't mind.
Atlanta. Yeah, so I saw it at Atlanta night 1 when, of course, we won the mute challenge. Look around, everybody on mute. We won that because she said, y'all won. Night 1 at Atlanta, I go in New Orleans, September 27th, which was supposed to be her last show, but that's now Kansas City, and I'm going to go in Houston as well.
Ooh, birthday. Oh my God. So you're going to be, because Beyonce's from Houston.
Yes. But she loves New Orleans, so
right.
When I bought the tickets, believe me, I was very strategic. I'm like, Atlanta is the home of the whole community,
right?
So she's gonna do her thing here. She loves New Orleans. She's stated that multiple times. So of course she's gonna do her thing there. She's gonna also bring out Big Frida, and then Houston. Come on now, that's her hometown. So she's gonna give them a show,
right? So just to give some context, because, a lot of our listeners are probably like, what in the heck are they talking about? So Beyonce's on tour. Unless you're living under a rock, you know that much. Mm-hmm. But this tour, this album that came out a year ago called Renaissance, is a celebration of Black queerness. There is no other way to describe it. And she's dedicated it to her uncle, Johnny, who was gay, and I believe died of HIV, if I'm not.
He did. Yes, he did.
Yeah. So, and at the end, there's a picture of her mother sitting next to her Uncle Johnny on the big screen, and he's mentioned in the songs. And so it's just all this celebration of house music, of the ballroom culture. And so if you wouldn't mind, give us a little bit of information about, what is ballroom, what is house music, or anything like that is your interpretation.
So ballroom is a celebration. Well, I'm not going to celebrate. Ballroom is a home. It's a home to the Black queer, not Black, Latina queer community. But since then, it has opened to many other races as well. But the origin was Black and Latin community. It's just a celebration of you being proud of your queerness, you having this special talent, taking it, showing it to the world, or showing it to your community, and you're getting awards for it. You're getting recognition, you're getting prizes, you're getting money, and you build a reputation for yourself. And a ballroom reputation, back then, it was one thing within the ballroom community. Now it has exceeded itself. It's gone far beyond community because you see so many people such as Honey Balenciaga, Carlos Basquiat. These are 2 of Beyonce's backup dancers right now on the Renaissance World Tour. Of course, they have to audition to get that spot, but because of the reputation that they have built in ballroom, in my personal opinion, I think it has also helped them get to where they are right now. And you have all sorts of big names. You have Stasha Sanchez Garcon, you have Raquel Balenciaga, you have just so many people who has come up within the ballroom community. And They started in the 90s. Like, believe they have built their reputation. When I did my research, oh yeah, they've started from here and they are now thriving. They have so many successful businesses, so many ventures. So ballroom can do all of that for you.
Right.
You know, it can create so many avenues. It can create so many lanes. It can be such a positive light if you let it take you there and not get consumed by the negativity that goes on. House music. My favorite. My absolute favorite. I've grown to love house music within the last 3 years. I've always loved it, just never knew what it was called. I just thought it was just techno beats. But I had grown to realize, oh, house music is really like, I'm trying to find the words to how do I describe house music?
It is energy.
It's perfect. Perfect. It's energy. It's all about the energy. Like, you know, house music when you hear it, because it's like your mood can go from this to like, okay, I like this. I like this. And that's literally what I think of when I listen to house music. So all of that, like, take all of that, put it in a nutshell, add a beautiful voice with the world's greatest entertainer on that,
right?
You have Renaissance.
Absolutely. And there's so many, the fashion, the songs themselves, the messaging of the songs, the utilizing of the symbols, the instruments, the silhouettes. There are so many things, and when we talk about ballroom culture, like, this started, and of course, depending on where you are, because people in Puerto Rico will talk about their version that came out in the 80s, and people in New York, which is the American version that we look at. We're talking about poor, queer people of color, sometimes breaking into old buildings,
absolutely,
squatting and putting on a ball or a presentation competition where people are divided. We would call teams, but they are in houses. They have various categories that they perform in and receive prizes. So this was back in the day, was very countercultural, very underground, but it was a place where people couldn't be themselves at work, couldn't be themselves at home, may even be homeless on the streets, but could go there and find their humanity and
feel
find
free.
Exactly, and their acceptance. And so Beyonce bringing that. Now, of course, shows like FX's Pose, and there's a couple of reality shows that talk about house. Talk about house culture. Talk about
legendary,
legendary,
yes,
absolutely. Which is where Honey, one of Beyonce's star dancers, is on Legendary. So, putting all that into context and having the biggest star in the world make a decision to honor this community, knowing that it would alienate parts of her fan base, knowing that it was not the big commercial decision. Because I can't tell you how many people have told me, I don't like the new stuff. Oh,
absolutely. I've gotten the earful of it.
Exactly. So for her to do that, to honor this community that she supports, and that supports her, that she's not a part of, is huge. So then fast forward that to New York, to July 29th, and a young Black gay man dancer with his friends celebrating his birthday in a parking lot of a gas station, dancing to Beyonce's music, is killed because his queerness offended a child, a 17-year-old, like
in broad daylight.
And so what then does that say to the community who is, you're going 3 times. I went twice. People who have gone, we're following Beyonce's Instagram to see what she's wearing, because what she wore in Louisville, she didn't wear in Detroit. And what she wore in Atlanta, she didn't wear. So it's like, so we're seeing.
She switches it up. Yes.
Exactly. So what does this say to our community who has finally felt seen and celebrating with fashion, coming to the concert dressed down? What is O'Shea like? How do we reconcile that? And what does that say to the community? How do we feel? How do you feel?
So one thing I will recognize with the community, well, about what Beyonce and this concert has done for the community, much like ballroom, this concert has allowed so many people within the community to just feel free, feel open, feel like, you know, I can come to this concert, I can wear this and not feel judged because somebody is going to have on less. Somebody's going to have on more. Somebody's going to be more detailed. Somebody's going to be less detailed. Like, I love that she has created such, you know, this open space for us in the community to come in and feel open, feel free, and feel safe. This is within the stadium. Now, outside of the stadium, the O'Shea, the horrible tragedy that happened with O'Shea, my heart goes out to him and his family 110% because I am still saddened to know that even in today's time, as open and expressive and, you know, how many laws have passed regarding this, it still saddens me to know that you have to go so far as to murdering somebody because he feels so comfortable with himself that it makes you feel uncomfortable with yourself.
Absolutely.
It really, really saddens me because what I've always been told and how I grew up, if you know who you are, if you're satisfied with what you have going on in life as a straight man, as a gay man, as a woman, as whoever you are, if you're comfortable with yourself, why are you so concerned with what other people have on? It's either you like it or you don't. But why does it have to get to the point where you have to be violent with people? You have to cross that line with people. Sometimes it's just not worth it. And the fact that it had to get to that point is truly disheartening. It's truly sad. And then it happened the day. I'm willing to bet he was going to the concert. It was his birthday. He was voguing. I'm willing to bet he was going to the concert. But unfortunately, he'll never get that experience because someone so full of hate and anger and rage and insecurity just took that from me. Not only took that experience, but took his life from him.
Absolutely. And so there are a couple of things to consider. Because when I first heard that this happened, and supposedly he felt like, you know, he gave slurs and felt that his religious, not freedom or rights were being violated by someone dancing. The first thing I thought was, damn, about O'Shea. The second thing I thought was, damn, that America and the social and political climate of 2023 creates children, because this dude is 17.
17 years old.
He's going to be tried as an adult, which he should be.
He should be.
But we create children that think it's okay to approach a grown man and tell him, don't do that, I'm offended. Like, and then politicians who get on TV and who say all this stuff and who write all these bills that are anti-gay, that are anti-trans, that are anti-black and people of color and anti-truth and anti-history, with all this rhetoric to you know, on their Twitter or whatever it's called now, they create this energy. People go out and operate in it.
Absolutely.
And people like O'Shea and countless other people who we don't know the name of are attacked and sometimes killed.
Absolutely.
And so how do, like, we live in a world where someone dancing with their friends in the parking lot is a threat.
Exactly.
Like, you cannot get any more joyful and safe than just me getting my life pumping gas,
being in the comfort, the surrounding of my friends.
Absolutely.
My friends in a public place. It's like how, like, I couldn't feel more comfortable than that.
So then it's so to juxtapose that with all the celebration and all the energy that the Black queer community has right now for this Beyonce tour of being seen and feeling free. Absolutely. And then in the middle of that, and literally the middle of the tour, to get this news that one of us is killed because of hate. So how did you feel when you heard this? And what do you think it means for Black queer, like how we are hurting more, I feel like, with this one because of
absolutely
the Renaissance tour.
I felt when I first heard it, and I heard like the story, the details leading up to O'Shea being murdered, I thought that once again we're under attack. And when I say once again, I mean truthfully speaking, we have never stopped being under attack.
Absolutely.
It's gotten more free for us. It's gotten more legal for us. It's gotten, you know, like we feel liberated in a lot of settings, but at the same time, there will always be somebody out there, some people, some culture, some religion, some, you know, when I say religions, that I do this because that's what he blamed it on.
Right.
But that's just that's what he says, but it might be something more deep rooted than that. It might be you just felt uncomfortable around gay people, but that's what I think. Like I said, it was very disheartening. One thing I'm a firm believer in, I say it almost every single day, especially with me being on the plane and see how a lot of people act, it starts at home. It starts at home. So your religious, you are 17 years old. Your religious upbringing starts with your parents, your guardians, whoever, you know, raised you. It starts with them. How can someone who can call themselves an adult, a man of whomever you may serve, whomever you may preach, you know, how can you call yourself a grown man, a grown woman, a human being, and you're preaching hate into a young person? Because like you said, it's religion. Religion starts with your parents, in the home, how you're brought up. And you were so threatened by this young man who is voguing in the parking lot with his friends in a gas station, probably not even paying any attention to you until you came to him.
Absolutely. You
let that threaten you, it starts at home. So now I want to go into details more. I want to, you know, as much as it infuriates me, and it's also disheartening that he took it upon himself to murder O'Shea. I want to dissect him now. I want to get into the parents.
Exactly.
I want to know what is this religion that you're teaching your children? What is this religion that you're teaching your children to like, you're basically teaching them, if you see something you don't like and they offend your religion, kill them. I personally don't know any religion like that.
No, not at all.
I don't know any religion like that. And I grew up Baptist, and I know of several other religions as well. But at the same time, I don't know not one religion that says if something offends you, kill them. I don't know that. There must be one of these self-titled, these self-proclaimed religions that they got going on in the home these days. I don't know. But it's just very, very disheartening. And what it says to the community is, as free as we are, as open as we are, as much as times have changed over the years, because from the 90s till now, we've come a long way. There's still people out there who do not care for us, who do not want to see us happy, who ultimately do not want to see us here.
I saw something on Twitter the other day, or X is what it's called now. It's crazy. I know, right? I still call it. Right. I still type Twitter on my phone, and it comes up. And it said to be open with your queerness is to choose your happiness above your safety.
True.
And
I agree.
That literally sent chills down my spine, because I remember a time in my life where the most important thing in the world for me was to stay in the closet, because I did not want, I was already Black, I was already big, thick, tall, nerdy, like, you know, like all these things, like I felt like I had all these things, poor, you know, all these things. And then when I came to terms with my sexuality, I was like, dang, God, one more thing, like one more like target.
One more thing. Yeah.
One more
I'm not done with you yet. One more thing.
Exactly.
And who's to say he's done with you now? But
right. So for years, I was like, you know, don't wear this, don't do this, don't talk like this, don't go here, don't do this, don't add this person on social media, don't, you like trying to suppress. And then when I finally went through that full circle moment of being able to come out, the first thing that started was threats. Like literally,
Of course.
I got threats at church. I got threats on social media. I, to this day, still get threats. We have security at church every Sunday because threats.
Absolutely.
But that I've chosen to stand in my truth and not let the hate silence me. But at the same time, it is heartbreaking. And one of the things, like when we talked about this at church, one of my church members, Black queer woman, said, like, I have to take care of myself, and this is heartbreaking. And with everything going on, when I leave here, I'm gonna have to explain this to my daughter. And because, you know, like we had O'Shea on the bulletin, we talked about it, like I showed the news clip, like there were all these things. She's like, I'm gonna have to figure out how to talk to my daughter about this and figure out how to take care of myself. Because like you said, I left Beyonce twice feeling like I'm gonna quote Oprah, and I know we got, you know, this young Kanuby on here, but Oprah, who's 69, this is what she said after.
I know about Oprah now. I know about Oprah.
Oh yeah. I just want to make sure that we bring all the voices in, right? So Oprah said, I have never in my life experienced something as transcendent. That kind of talent, energy, expression, and anointing is something that comes straight from a source that creates the planets. The dancers, the production, the musicians, and the team in front and behind the scenes all perfectly align to create a renaissance in today's world. You must see it. And that right there, because that's what it is. When I went, I felt seen. I felt free. Like the whole, you know, sometimes as Black people, we can have this cool pose of like, especially, you know, we're being around, you know, you're being around people, especially, you know, a man, you know, you're dealing with the whole ideas like masculinity and
of
you know,
course.
what do I do and how do I do? Man, I whipped out my fan. I'm directing the choir. I'm singing every song. I'm heated. It's like I didn't care about the 49,999 other people in there. It was me getting my life, having a good time, enjoying the queerness, and then in the midst of all of this celebration and seeing day after day, concert after concert, people posting their silver and black and pink and skin and body positivity, just to be reminded, boom, nope. You can be free if you want to, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to
absolutely.
So it's just, I want our listeners to understand the burden of that for the Black queer community. And we are not okay. And yet we press on.
Absolutely. So let me just say, first of all, one of the reasons I've always kept in contact with you, I've always like talked to you, because from day one, when I first seen you on Iyanla, you had all of my respect, because it takes a lot, and I mean a lot, in today's time to not only come out and be honest with yourself, but to come out and be honest with yourself on national television for the world to see it. And of course, I'm pretty sure from that moment, you started feeling free, you started feeling open, but with all those pros comes the cons, and the cons being the threats. But, and one thing I've told myself, I refuse to let anybody's insecurities,
yes, God,
anybody's negativity, anything negative you have to say about someone that's being happy. I refuse to let any of that control my happiness. Granted, It's one thing to be Black in
Yep.
today's time. It's one thing to be a Black man
Yep.
in today's time. And it's another thing to be a Black gay man in today's time. However, and we have targets on our back.
Absolutely.
Us, we just have 3. Just imagine trans. They have 4.
Trans, exactly.
So we have 3 targets on our back every time we step outside that door, every time we go to work, every time we go to the gas station to pump gas, every time we go to Walmart, every time we go to the mall, every time we go to Renaissance. We have targets on our backs every single time. But what I love so much about us as a community, especially with the younger generation has pretty much decided, I'm not letting your negativity
absolutely
dictate my future and how I choose to spend my life. Because if I do that, I'm going to be in the house every single day. I'm going to be in the bed every single day. I might as well stay in the closet, literally the closet, every single day and not come out, because I'm scared of what you're going to do to me. I'm scared of what's going to happen. I'm scared I'm going to become another O'Shea. I'm scared I'm going to become another China Gibson, one of my good trans sisters that was murdered in New Orleans. Yep. I'm scared this is going to happen to me. But in my personal opinion, the more we fight back, not always physically, it can be mentally, absolutely, it can be emotionally, it can be spiritually. The more we fight back, the more we stand on what we say and yep, stand 10 toes flat, then sometimes we got to stand on that hill by ourselves. Yep. That's fine. As long as we stand on that hill and mean what we say, then we're making a point and we're proving this point. You're not going to make us back down because you don't like who you are on the inside. We're not backing down. And I know I'm not.
Absolutely. And so I think then the lesson for our listeners and for our churches and our communities and our individuals is to remember what you are for. And when I say by this is something that I got from Howard Thurman, great theologian and Black mystic. Martin Luther King used to carry his book, Jesus and Disinherited, around with him. And Howard Thurman preached a sermon and he asked the question, what are you for? Because most people will tell you what they're against. I don't like the gays. I don't like the trans. I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like that. But what are you for? And so if me, you, our community, our listeners are for the equal rights and protection of all marginalized communities, Black, queer, trans, and otherwise,
right,
then what are we doing to propel that energy? Right. And so when politicians come on and talk about stuff and when votes are happening, are we just sitting back being mad about it? Or are we hitting the streets, hitting our socials, hitting the bullhorn, protesting? Are we pushing back? Because that hateful narrative, they work together. They stay on target.
Absolutely.
Men who are patriarchal and don't believe in women preachers, a man preacher who doesn't believe in a woman preacher will have a woman come to his church to preach if she says something he agrees with.
Exactly.
And that's what people do. And so we have to stand up, stand together, and we need the community to understand that whatever privileges you have, we need you to within those privileges, speak for those who the world is trying to silence.
Exactly.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you're a white gay man with a high FICO and investments, where are you investing? Where are you giving? Who are you supporting? How do you what do you think when you hear the story and what is meant to the community? And how are you using your vote and your dollars to propel the movement forward? I feel like a lot of people in the queer community, once we got marriage equality, once there was a better medication for HIV and AIDS, a lot of activism in the community, that very middle class, fighting for these certain rights, kind of sat back. Well, Black, queer, trans people are still under attack.
Absolutely.
It's still under attack. And so just because you got your house and your 401k and your marriage and your dog and you're safe, what about the rest of us?
Exactly. We're still under attack. We're still there. Which is why I always say to people, you know, you have your agrees, you have your agreements, you have your disagreements. You have every right as someone within the community, outside the community in general, but we're going to speak community wise. You have every right to feel the way that you want to feel.
Absolutely.
Every right. And nobody's stopping that. However, when you speak for those who can't. Speak for those O'Sheas. Speak for those Chinas. Speak for those diamonds. Speak for the people who no longer have that opportunity to do so. Because I'm pretty sure, had O'Shea still been here, had a lot of trans women that have been killed, had they still been here, I'm pretty sure they would be very boisterous. They would be very opinionated. They can just say all these things that needs to be said. Because I know a lot of trans women, very strong-willed, very opinionated, will give it to you straight, no chaser. They will give it to you straight, no chaser. They will defend the community. They will defend trans women. They will stand by everything that they say. Absolutely. And even with them pouring their hearts out, even with them, like I've seen a trans woman, she gave a speech, cried actual tears. Still didn't change the mind of some people sitting in the audience because they were just so heartless. They weren't even open to listening to her. It was just like, okay, I'm here because I'm getting checked. I'm here because I have to be. I don't really want to hear anything you have to say. And it's sad to me. It's just really, really, really sad. You know, you let this one thing. First of all, let me just say, no sin is bigger than the other. No sin, because I'm pretty sure the same people sitting up here judging us have kids out of wedlock. They eat fish. They use profane language. They do all these things that go against many different, you know, religions and many different things, you know, however you were raised. You do many things that go against that. However, this one thing is bigger than everything that you've ever done in your entire life, which is baffling to me. But, well, it's not. When I say baffling, it's not really baffling, but it's just baffling that you really put this one thing high up on a pedestal, but everything you do, you want it to be almost unseen, unheard of, and never spoken of. Because you want to be better than that. You know, these people who choose to be happy, these people who choose to live their life, these people who choose to be free, these people who choose not to let your basically selfish ways, you know, all that you do scare them back into a closet. Sorry to tell you, we here, we queer, we not going nowhere.
Absolutely. And that's why what we preach is God is love.
Absolutely.
God is love.
Through.
God is love. God loves. God affirms. God doesn't tolerate or just accept. God chose. God formed us. And what people have done is taken the Bible and use their power, their socioeconomic, political power to convince us somehow that that these things that God speaks so little of is so, or that the Bible speaks so little of, is so much more important than the things that the Bible speaks so much of, which is love and justice and understanding and peace and joy. And so I always tell people, I've been to seminary and I've learned the King James version of the Bible is called the King James version because King James says, I want a Bible. And so it has the social, political, economic influence of his agenda in England and Scotland in 1619. Right. And so that's not God, that's King James. So right. I find God in various and sundry ways. God is still speaking. God did not stop at the end of the Bible. God is still creating. Like what Oprah said about Beyonce, that amount of joy and freedom, that to me was more beneficial and helpful than a lot of church services I've been in. I left feeling joy and peace. That level of excellence made me want to try harder on my job. It made me want to try harder in my church. It made me want to try harder to see her that body snatched.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm going to the gym. Like there were all these things, and that is God. And so I encourage our churches to look for opportunities to create joy and celebrate joy and support
and not hate.
Exactly. And celebrate Black joy and trans joy and queer joy and the poor people's joy, all the joys of those marginalized people, like Kanuby said, that people are trying to silence. Oh my God, we done solved it, bro.
I think that the answer is there. The answer is there every single day. And it's just one word. It's just happiness. That's it. Happiness is not spewing hate. Happiness is not choosing to read what you want to read. Because there's many things, like you said, there's many things that the Bible talks about. Many, many things. And I may not know every single word from front to back. But what I do know is there are many different topics in that Bible that talks about many different things. But when you, as an individual, leader of a church, leader of the congregation, leader of a social world, leader of whatever, if you as a leader choose to pick that one thing, such as being part of this LGBTQ community, and you choose that and you you basically equate that with hate, and you try to spew that onto, because I don't care how you put it. I don't care how you say I love you a million times. Some people some people will spew hate, but they'll try to make that hate seem like it's love.
I'm only doing this because I love you. I just don't want you to go to hell.
Exactly. I don't care how the cookie crumbles. I don't care how you choose to look at it. It is hate at the end of the day. When you take that one thing and choose to spew hate into the community, that is why we will forever have those rotten seeds within this world. Because everybody's being led by somebody. And whether people fail to realize it or not, and I'll use this as an example. A pastor of a church, me being very active on social media, I talk about a lot. I have an opinion on a lot. I will go into topics on a lot. I have a voice. That pastor has a voice.
Absolutely.
What you do with that voice says a lot. You are, whether you believe it or not, you are an influencer. What you do with that voice says a lot. You can spew love or you can spew hate. But your voice does a lot. If you have one person, and this is one thing I've learned, I've taught myself this. If you have one person listen to you, you are an influencer. Just one. 100, 1 million. You are an influencer because you're preaching what you know. You're talking about what you know to other people. And some people may not believe it. Some people may not go with it. But a lot of people in today's time, a lot of people will.
So the question then is, how are you using your voice? Are you constructing and building love? Or are you using your voice to destruct and to sow hate?
Exactly.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
Let me tell you, I have loved following you at Kanuby, Kanubyyyy. If you want to follow, I will tell you that Kanuby has grown, and sometimes the topics on the conversations that he leads are grown. So, be just
let me just right. So on top of that, let me just say this. I'm not gonna say follow with caution because I'm not one of those people that is deliberately just being mean to people. I'm not one of those people.
You're a very beautiful spirit.
I do have an opinion. Thank you, Derek. I have a very beautiful spirit. I typically get along with any and everybody because the energy that I have, many people can relate to, or many people just like having around. I'm human. I make mistakes. If at any point within me giving my opinion on a certain situation, if you felt as though I offended you, let's talk about it. My inbox is always open. Always open. And if we come to an agreement where I can understand where I offended you, I have no problem apologizing. But just know, when you follow me, it goes down. We're going to talk. Like I said in the beginning, we're going to talk. We're going to talk, and we're going to get into it. Okay. We're going to get deep into the things that most people probably don't want to talk about, but I'm not scared. Let's do it.
So let me tell you, this is the perfect segue to close. And thank you for doing this. I want to end with, every year in New Orleans, there's a red dress run.
Oh, Lord.
And let me tell you, every year I see these. It's so funny because I used to think it was just a black thing, because I own, like, so many people I follow are black on socials, and all of my friends are there, and they're all with their friends, and everybody's black. And then last year I was like, where do these white people come from? And they were like, it's everybody.
It's everybody. Black, white, candy apple red, midnight. It's everybody thing. Literally, that has been going on in New Orleans for a very long time now. And it's an event where everybody comes together. Everybody.
I love it. So I'm just telling you, one day, because I keep seeing it, but one day you're going to see me in my little red dress, because it's hot in New Orleans. So I'm going to have to show some skin.
Don't get me. You know I do every year now.
Yeah, absolutely. I was about to say that outfit this year. I said, what? Where? What? Anyway, so you're going to see me, and I ain't going to run, but I will put on a red dress. Stay tuned. It's going to happen. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. Anytime you need me, you know I'm here.
Definitely. Definitely.
You know I'm here.
Thank you, Kanuby, at KANUBYYY. You all take care. God bless. Kanuby has an amazing smile. So if you're listening to this, make sure you check out our YouTube page so you can see that smile. Take care. God bless. Peace.